Good catch.
Thank you, sir.
I was wondering there.
All of a sudden.
What'd you say?
I said,
Yeah, those are.
Oh. You just didn't put it back.
You didn't bring it back.
I didn't want to say, well, how do I, but then I gave it up.
Yeah.
You took it in the back room?
Second string. Thank you.
Chad, Garrett will not be at the meeting tonight. Okay.
Well, it is. Okay.
Chad, you want to start recording?
Miss Christie? Did you start the recording?
Recording in progress.
Okay. December 3rd, 2025 City Council meeting for the city of Gearhart is called to order. Are there any conflicts of interest to be mentioned?
No. No. Oh.
No?
No.
All right, I'd like to make a motion that we add to the agenda the liquor license for a special event at Prep Kitchen. They were not able to get it in time to get it added to the agenda. So if I can get a second, we'll do that at the same time we do Pacific Pickens.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so added. All right. We're going to go on to regular meeting and public hearing. Are they combined? Yeah.
Yeah.
So any corrections? No corrections, then I'll take a motion
Wait,
What?
from the minutes?
on the minute.
Yeah, I was confused because it starts out talking about the Hemlock right of way and then it goes into the FEMA pick'em stuff, doesn't it? And I do that wrong.
I'm I've got the zoning ordinance.
It's on
This whole page or page one is all about the theme.
Right, but the third paragraph on the first page is talking about the Hemlock right of way. And then it goes into the FEMA pick'em stuff, so I was a little confused about that transition.
I think that must need to be corrected. We did the theme of that meeting, didn't we? I'm pretty sure we did.
We did.
So that line needs to be amended. Third paragraph.
Well,
How many lines down? Because I'm not,
It's the third paragraph, the first sentence. It wasn't a street vacation. It was the hearing for the Gearhart zoning ordinance.
got it. Okay. Yeah, that does.
Yeah.
Okay. Motion as corrected.
Move to approve the minutes for the public hearing and regular meeting of the city council Wednesday, November 1st, 2025 with corrections.
Second,
second,
all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Moving on. I don't have anything to report. And if I did, everyone have a good holiday season. We got king tides, so be careful out there. I saw people out clamming today and you gotta wonder about those sneaker waves. Okay, Sharon?
I don't know much to report. I attended the Seaside Airport Committee meeting last week. They had a couple of incidents, a guy who currently worked for one of the timber companies landed his helicopter on their property, which is fine, and he's absolutely allowed to do that. And it was vandalized. I guess approached him, the pilot, first of all, and started berating him. And then apparently came back later on and vandalized the helicopter. Also, the second thing that happened over there is the street crew, Seaside street crew, was allegedly told to prune some trees in a certain location, and they cut down all 5 trees. That's all I have to report.
Alana?
I don't have any report. I spent my time going over all the survey results. That was chatted with Sam.
So I attended the LOC Small Cities meeting. Updates on in 2026, you can expect that at the Oregon state level, they're going to make another run at the TLT change. This time 60-40 with 60% going for government business, including infrastructure and emergency services, and 40% will be scrutinized closely and must go to promoting tourism. COTEC is believed to be in support of this. Received a update on the Sunset Empire Transportation District Board. They currently have 3 vacancies on their board due to resignations. They're going to be deciding at December 18th meeting who will fill those positions. Applications should have been received by yesterday. However, they did mention that this is something we need to kind of pay attention to and watch what's going on with their budgets, because remember last time when their budget and when everything went bad, it went bad really quickly. And funding issues continue to be a problem for them, although I don't know how critical they are right now. There was just some hint that keep an eye on it. And this is something we should also pay attention to, as it looks like the no on the gas tax folks have at least twice as many signatures as they needed, and they expect by December 30th that they'll have almost 3 times the number of signatures, which means it seems likely that everything that would have been funded with that money will go on hold. The only thing that, well, there were 4 items that they weren't attacking and that they were not trying to repeal. And I can't remember what all of them were, but they were sort of common sense moves, but one of them included audits of ODOT. So in the future, ODOT is going to have to audit. However, they're still looking at trying to figure out how they're going to fund that $350 million deficit. So we should be in for an interesting winter travel season because it will put everything on hold. Got a report from the Clatsop Child Care Retention and Expansion Center report at the Clatsop Economic Development Resource meeting. They launched that program in 2022, looking for ways to assist the county in moving out of the child care desert designations that we were in for preschool and for infants and toddlers. They haven't been successful as far as preschool age children, but they're still struggling with infants and toddlers, although the situation has improved. That program was funded primarily with ARPA money, so they are looking for private investors because it was never intended to be permanently supported by the government. And currently there's over 130 families receiving tuition assistance through scholarships here. And then finally, Cannon Beach reported a tree went down on their pantry building while it was occupied. Nobody was hurt. And one last thing, we got an email today from the Chamber of Commerce letting us know that in Seaside, if you go in and you fill out an applicant or a permit, those applicants, somebody is accessing their emails and is then sending them fraudulent emails trying to con them out of fees and asking them to send the money over in questionable ways. So what goes around comes around, so we should probably keep an eye on that and make sure that that doesn't start to happen to our folks also. Yeah, that's it. Merry Christmas, everybody, and whoever did the Christmas decorations, thank you.
I have nothing to report, thank you.
Okay, just a little correction in our timeline. The planning commission didn't meet last month, so there is no report. That's why I just skipped over it. It was lined out. City officer reports. Sergeant Brown, you're in for Josh.
I am. I have a pretty short day. I'm sure you all see we have our stats provided to you. We have a new format now. This is coming out of Central Square, so this will be how it is from now on in the future. It's a life a little bit easier. Last month, we had a total of 126 calls for service. We are up to a total of 612 cases for the year. And after Thanksgiving, it was all quiet in Gearhart.
Oh, don't say the Q word.
No, it's too late. It's already passed, so it can't come back home now.
Mhm.
And that's it, unless anybody has any questions for me.
Any questions? Thank you, Sergeant. Okay, Fire Chief Josh is not here. So Hank, I don't know the exact title that they hired you under, but
Acting in capacity. So I don't have stats for everybody, but I wanted to come in and introduce myself. My name is Henry Schindel. I'm an acting capacity firefighter for Gearhart now. It's an honor and privilege to be here. You guys will see me around quite a bit as I go through the ranks of the fire department for the next 20, 25 years. So I'm pretty excited to be here. Thanks a lot.
Great. Hank, it's been a great addition. He served time in the Navy as a firefighter. He started in Gearhart as a volunteer with no intentions, no ideas that there would be a job coming available or not having it. Saw the opportunity and went for it. And I've had the opportunity with Josh being gone and covering for him to respond to Hank quite a bit lately, and he's doing a great job.
Thank you for your service.
Great job.
And
Take
Hank,
care.
are you a paramedic also?
I'm working on my EMT certification. So I have one more benchmark. Thank
Welcome aboard, kid.
you, President.
all right, moving on. Master of money.
So our property tax payments come in weekly. In the month of November is the only time that we get weekly payments as people make them up in the county. And it's looking very strong. The city did see our anticipated potential refund credits withheld. They were withheld for Charter Communication, CenturyLink, Loomis Technologies, and Pacific Core. And just as a reminder, those potential refund credits are PRCs. Whenever a company or somebody challenges their property tax assessment or an appeal process, if it's over $1 million, the county assessor can issue withholding a certain percentage of those funds until the appeal is resolved, so that we wouldn't have to pay back money. So they kind of put it aside just to kind of help in case there's a problem. So the good news is those PRCs were less than we thought, and Georgia Pacific withdrew theirs. So we still have some. Our portion withheld was a little over $10,000, and we originally thought it was going to be $38,000, but we had made an adjustment in our last budget before it was approved because Georgia Pacific was probably going to be resolved. So we had already made an adjustment in our budget, but this is much better than we had thought. So that's good news for us. In revenues, the city also received a payment for our state revenue sharing program in Fund 45. And we will probably wait till our next payment in order to make our grant recipient payments, just to make sure that we have enough money in there, which will probably be around March. Noteworthy in expenditures, there was an account description change in 10-1302. So in the fire department, The line was division chief, and we've changed it to train/operations staff. As our staff member moves through the ranks, so we changed that title. There was an audit payment in 10/10/46 for the completion of our June 30 audit. And there was a payment to Cardination in 10/17/45 for providing professional services for maintaining the city's GIS mapping. And they, it was for the month of July, August, September, and October. They had switched billing companies and they did not realize that we were not getting the invoices. So once we contacted them and they contacted their new billing company, they realized we pay $500 a month for that. So it's it looks like a lot of money was there, but it is for several months back. There was a payment in 30/30/61 to Roto-Rooter for the disposal of materials from the water treatment plant. That's something that we do, I think, yearly.
Twice a year.
Twice a year, that is a regular part of maintenance. There was a payment to FFA Architecture and Interiors in 79/7900 for assistance with the public safety building project, for some cost estimates and remodeling option potential that Chad had talked to them about. And note that in the check detail, there is a voided check to Recology on 11/12, so Recology has a 0. We had a charge and I was holding the check as they looked into it. And they could not prove the additional charges because they said our dumpster was over, and apparently they take a photo so that they have documentation to electronically prove. So they had no verification of why that charge was charged, so I was able to avoid the check. So that's why there's a 0 there. That's all I have.
Great, thank you, Justine. Public Works Director, Mark McFadden.
Good evening. It's pretty much been, status quo with us this time of year. We just try to get rid of water and pine needles and all that stuff like that as far as streets are concerned, and that takes up a lot of our time. My guys will be busy doing the maintenance on most of our equipment. We try to get it all fixed and ready and done. We're still working on getting that section of sidewalk done. Hopefully starting tearing it out next week, I hope, if things go right. At least the worst part of it for now. It's just hard to get anybody to do anything when there's not a lot of people around here anymore, and concrete guys are busy. So, and we're trying to get that done. As far as the water plant's concerned, this is the time of year where we got a lot of valves and maintenance and stuff to do on it from doing Band-Aids all summer because we can't shut down. So this time of year we can shut down. We had a little issue last month with one of our water tanks for the filters. There was some corrosion, it rusted through, so we had to get in there and cut some deals off and re-weld the flange back on and get it all replumbed and put back together. Problem makes it harder is those filters have to come out and they can't stay dry for more than a few hours. You got to keep them wet, keep them moist while you're doing all this work. So it was kind of a problem, but it went pretty smooth considering. We're going to end up doing the other one probably. I would look at this time, maybe January, February next year, we'll probably take both of those out and redo them. And I've had to do it before where they crawl in those tanks and weld up spots, and just the electrolysis inside those things from the backwash will eat holes in those tanks eventually when they're not coated. Coating gets scraped off and it's just wear and tear. So normal stuff. We just got our yearly water rights compliance report done that we do every year with Chris Hyatt, our geotech, and it was submitted to the state. Everything looks the same. If you guys want a copy of it, I can get that to you if you want to look at it. It's just a bunch of data from all these monitoring wells we have around here that we've been doing for 15 years every year. So
It goes online, doesn't it?
I don't know if that report goes online or not. WRD, I'm not sure. I get sent it every year, so I never look, so I don't know. So that's a major part of what we do. We compile that data once a month, and it takes a lot of our time and effort. And so that's a once a year deal. What else did we have? We've got a couple projects, water projects going on. I got a 2-inch water main extension on Nita that we're gonna be doing. We're gonna have a company board in. It's just to get rid of a dead end main there that's been there forever, and that new construction, they're just gonna push it where they're gonna have water, so we gotta figure out how to get it there. So be good timing for that. We've got a couple 2-inch, 8-inch valves up on Pacific Way in Marion that they're kind of getting old, and we had some issues with it shutting off from when we had a water leak here about 6 months ago. So we've got all the parts to fix that. It's just a matter of time to fit it in and getting it done. So it's, we are really backed up with everything and trying to get everything done all at once. And it seems like every time we plan for something, something else comes up the next day. So we're gonna work on that. I do appreciate my crew and what I have. There's a lot of problems going around with cities being able to keep their crews and you know, keep the ones they have, keep good ones they have. And so I'm really happy with what's going on there. That's about all I have as far as that. I mean, we're still on the outstanding performance list with the Oregon Health Authority, which means we're doing everything right. This was the year that we do all of our chemical samplings. It's on a 3-year basis. We test for almost 70 different chemicals, and everything meets the requirements of what we need to be. So we're looking good there as far as the water. So that's about all I have. If you guys got some questions. So, yeah.
So on occasion, I see complaints about the chlorine
Of
smell
course, yeah,
in the
that's
water.
Yeah.
Talked to Chad about it
Sure.
many times. Is there anything that you would recommend that people do? Like for the water I drink, it's either I get it out of my fridge that's
Sure.
been filtered, or I use a pure water filter,
Sure.
but any other?
Unfortunately, taste and odor is not a regulated thing with any kind of water system. And based on the outmake of everybody's water is different. When it comes to Warrenton Seaside, everybody's got different tastes and odor issues. And there's nothing I can do about the water that goes into the plant. The only thing I can control is what I put into it. And legally, I can't change what's going into it. I can tell you what it leaves the plant as. I have monitors that monitor real time of what chlorine is, what it's doing, how much is in there. If it goes out of whack, it'll immediately call my phone. What people don't realize is chlorine at our plant needs about 1 parts per million. We can go as high as 4 legally. The more chlorine you put in, smell goes away, believe it or not. People don't realize that. So I can make the smell go away, but you won't like it. So there's really nothing I can do. And it can be a problem this time of year because we have minimal people in town. Water's not getting circulated like it was in the summer when we're running 600 gallons a minute wide open all day. Water sits in the tanks more. The more complaints come from my dead end water mains that aren't circulating. So, and there's a lot of factors of how far away from the plant you are, you know, what kind of water main you got coming to your house, how many people are on your street that aren't even there, you know. So there's a lot of these streets that up and down these dead end streets in Gearhart where there might be one person living there right now. So the water doesn't circulate as much. But I have to put enough chlorine in it. One, it's what we use to remove the arsenic as well, and mixes with the ferric. And so I have to put an X amount in to help remove the arsenic. 2, I have to keep a residual in the water mines at all times, no matter what. So leaving the plant, it's going to be lower out in the highlands because it takes longer to get there. It's going to eat up the chlorine more as it gets out to the highlands. So I don't really have a fix for. So, and some people just don't smell it at all when it's there. So I know I live in Warrenton, and I know every morning when I turn my faucet on, I smell chlorine too. So, but normally if you let it run for a little bit, it's fine.
Right.
So it's just that initial turning it on. So.
Mark, can I add to that a little bit? We've done some research. Mark and I have talked about this over the years, and we've had many people kind of question it. So the scientific reasons that we can smell chlorine in our water is also because Gearhart is on groundwater. And our water is already naturally filtered through almost, 150 plus feet of sand. The problem that we have is our water is too clean. So what happens is we have very low organic matter in our water because it's coming from 150 feet down in an aquifer. Using Warrenton, like he was saying, the chemical differences between all the different cities, Warrenton grabs their water from Young's River, right?
Lewis and Clark.
Lewis and Clark, excuse me. Lewis and Clark River, which has a lot of organics in it. So because our water, we have to put in the minimal amount of chlorine, and we do, we have a state-of-the-art system that does that. But there's no organics to change its state. You can sometimes strongly smell the chlorine. But the fact is that our chlorine chemical amounts that are in our water are less than another community who pulls it off of a river or a surface water. Yet you can't smell their chlorine. Well, why? So let's say they have to put more chlorine because they have more organics in there. The organics change the state of the chlorine, and so you can't smell it as much. But what are you drinking? You're still drinking probably a little bit more chemical because that's what they have to do to make it work.
Yeah, absolutely.
Gearhart's water is too clean. We have to put in the minimum, so we have that. What I found is that people that put a water jug in their refrigerator and it's in there for 20 or 30 minutes, it tastes normal after that.
Well, it's not even taste. It doesn't taste.
Oh, excuse me,
It's not.
not yet. It's smell. Smell.
People say it tastes different, but what you're doing is smelling it, you're not tasting it, so.
So cleaner water, more noticeable chlorine scents, dirtier water, less noticeable scent. So it's kind of a difficult situation that we're in, but I think we're pretty lucky to have the quality of water that we have, to have the state-of-the-art system that we have, which is a fantastic system. And these guys working it, I trust, and those figures from Oregon Health's Department and Water Resources Division, the reports that we do, our water is in very good shape. It's just not as pleasant as some people would like, but it's a high quality water.
Thank you for
Yeah.
all that.
May I, something, I've worked on water systems, yeah, no, not yet. Yes. So where are we with the Oregon Water Resource Board as far as a 100% water rights?
It's still up in the air. I mean, they're still gonna say they're working on it. It's one of those things where I don't expect anything for at least a couple of years because they're so backed up. So they've got some issues right now going on in Eastern Oregon where people are fighting them. So, and that's a priority for them right now. So I don't, it's just my opinion. I could be wrong. They could tell us tomorrow something, but I just don't see it coming for a little while. I think we're still on the bottom of that list. So.
Councilor Deborah, I checked in on that last month, and I asked them to just give me a little report where they're at. And they haven't started on the process. They said when we initially put in the water rights application, it was between 6 and 9 months. I think we're at 7, closer to 8 months now. And they would let me know when they started working on the project. So I don't think it's started yet.
I don't even think they looked at it yet, so I mean, that's my honest opinion, but I mean, they'll get to it, but there's a lot of people in line before us, I believe. So.
Okay, thank you.
All right, any other questions for Mark? Thank you, Mark.
Yep.
City Attorney.
Good evening, Council. Chad Jacobs from the Interim City Attorney's Office. I don't really have anything to report. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have, and if not, I just want to wish everyone a very happy and safe holiday season.
Thank you.
Right back at you. And I want to tell you, we appreciate you helping us out the way you have been.
It's been an honor and a privilege. Thanks a lot.
All right, moving on. Chad?
Thank you, Mayor and Council. In regards to attorney, I've been discussing this with the council. We had one interview with the gentleman Robert, and he did a great job, a good guy. We're just not sure that that was the direction that we want. I've been speaking with Chad Jacobs to make sure that we're not imposing too much on him, and so far we've been keeping out of trouble. So he appreciates that and that he is going to continue to help us work through this issue until either their circumstances change or we decide to go in a different direction. So I'll keep you updated on what we learned from and discussing with availability of other attorneys around here, potentially opening up the RFP process again, but for right now, they are taking a great care of us. Mark and I have been working on some flooding issues on Gearhart Loop Road that are creating some situations. This is the sinkhole house on the end of Pfeiffer at Gearhart Loop. Mark is working on a plan for an emergency plan for that to assist in the drainage. I think Mark's got a very good handle on it. We've also been discussing this with some engineers. And they're helping us with that as well. We're going to be looking at a temporary fix for this drainage issue. And then soon, I have a feeling we're going to be talking to the council about potentially setting up a local improvement district for potentially taxing some of the folks that are around there to help with this water issue. So we can repair it in a manner that is permanent. Because the city at this time does not have the funds to just go ahead and make these repairs. And just as a reminder, this is not a system that the city installed or knew about until recently, or this issue, and we're trying to help everyone we can with these business owners that are seeing some potential flooding, such as Bud's Campground and all that. So that's another situation that is taking some of Mark's time, but he's doing a good job at that. I held multiple potential beach bench calls and meetings. I've met with two groups of people now. One has selected a spot for the bench. I'll be discussing that with Mark and talking about installing that. I'm working with 5 people right now, actively working with 3 and seeing if I can engage with the other 2. And then once we get those solved, we'll move on to the next 5. So hopefully here soon, when time allows, we'll start looking at installing one of those benches around town. A2 freshwater sign complaint update. The signs have been removed out of anywhere that looks like it would be in the wetlands area. There are a few signs that remain, but they're all on private property and outside the wetlands. So I think that has finally come to a resolution. Been busy with multiple tree and dune permits in November. Measuring a lot of trees over the last 30 days. Kind of working on those. We had the 13th Street fence complaint issue, the beach access on 13th Street, and we worked with the state and and found that everything that was done was legal. That is private property, and there was really no issue with legacy trails or that sort of thing. That whole area, including 13th Street and the area where the fence was installed, is private property. The fence was installed correctly, and they also installed the fence in a way that the fire department can actually get through there in an emergency situation by using fence sleeves so that they can be pulled out. I think that the homeowners down there are still trying to maneuver and figure out how they're going to reinstall that trail a little bit. I'll keep you informed about how that's going. But so far, nobody's done anything illegal. That's what I have to report for now.
Thank you, Jeff. All right, moving on to visitors, North Coast Land Conservancy Directors Mark McLaughlin and John Wickersham, Second Street.
Yeah.
Memorandum of Understanding, agreement. Come on, guys.
Best place, should I stand, sit, doesn't matter?
Doesn't matter to me,
Okay.
if you want to sit right there, or
Sure.
if it's easier for you to sit.
Yeah. Closer or stay here?
It's good.
Yeah, good evening, everybody. I'm Mark McLaughlin. I'm the Conservation Director for North Coast Land Conservancy. I did share a slide deck with the city, and it's on the supporting documents. So I'm not gonna read through the slide deck, but there are some things from there I wanna touch base on. And so happy to be here tonight, just to talk about the Land Conservancy's vision for protecting the Ecoxy Creek and how we might be able to establish a partnership with the city to be able to do so. And so I'm gonna start a little bit just by talking about the background, just to provide some context about who we are and the kind of work we do. So we're a land trust. We've been working for about the last 40 years, protecting land from the city of Astoria down Lincoln City, from the Cliff Range up to the near shore. And we've been able to protect nearly 22 square miles of land within our service area over the last 4 decades. And that is through either direct acquisition of properties or through facilitation work where we support communities or tribes to have lands for those organizations and entities for any particular reasons, whether it be protecting drinking watersheds or storing ancestral homelands. So we don't just buy land, but we also help others protect land as well. And so within kind of that framework, we hope that we can provide some sort of pathway and framework of a collaborative partnership with the city in protecting more lands along the Ecoxy. So while we do work within, 2,600 square miles is our service area, so it's very large. We do have a conservation plan where we prioritize certain areas where we can focus our work and make a dedicated impact. And so the conservation work that we do prioritize are areas like the Mechanicsville watershed, which the Ecoxy Creek is a part of. And so places like the Ecoxy Creek, I think are not only important for just the city itself, but it's an integral piece of a larger watershed and will also help with aligning and tying to the comprehensive plan of the city and your strategic land use goals. So I did make a few notes on some of those that I wanted to talk about. So goals 5, 7, 11, 16, and 17. So what a framework might look like and how do they align with some of those relevant comprehensive plans. Again, a lot of these notes that I'm talking about right now aren't in the slide deck. But as facilitators, what our organization is able to do is we can provide certain skills, certain technical expertise, certain support to fulfill a common mission and a common goal. So a lot of the times in direct conservation, right, that's helping others acquire property. And that could be through grant writing, through title review, any due diligence issues that come up. So we can help also with planning and prioritization. How do you get about fulfilling the goals that you want to achieve? And so we have a variety of examples of where we work with communities along here. A lot of times, or more recently, it's been with protecting lands for communities' drinking watershed. And I know the Ecoxy Creek isn't part of your drinking watershed, but it's connected in some fashion as part of the aquifer.
Absolutely.
So, I know you're not pulling water from the Ecoxy, surface water in the Ecoxy Creek, but it is integral, I think, to providing those ecological services. So on, I think it's page 9 of the slide deck, there's a map there of the Ecoxy Creek corridor. And so it's kind of small probably on your printout, and sorry, I can send you a file to be able to look at this, but really what we see is you can see the green outline, which maybe is hard to see with the green forest and creek there, but there is a large swath of undeveloped land right along the Ecoxy Creek. right? So we do see that as a corridor, as some pieces of connectivity of undeveloped land. And so there's opportunity to protect those lands in perpetuity should any landowners want to be able to do so. So that's what we want to try and create. We're not trying to prevent development from happening, but if there are willing landowners that want to donate land or transfer their land for conservation or protection or as open space or even potentially parks, we want to help whatever the city's vision and goal is, we want to be able to help you all achieve that. And so there was some example in the document too about what a framework might look like. And so really what we want to work with the city to figure out first, what are the city's goals and how do they align and how can we support the city fulfill those goals? So what we're proposing is a partnership that doesn't include grant writing or fundraising, but can provide a variety of technical expertise, whether it's helping identify, prioritize properties, or doing some environmental assessments and a lot of due diligence title work, or things like crafting a donation agreement between the landowners and the city. So if the city is open to basically holding lands for open space, for protection, we want to be able to work with the city in a collaborative process and help you all achieve that. So first, if that is a vision that you want, we're more than willing and happy to donate our services to work with you to achieve that. So we do have I think we have a good opportunity to if we are able to establish the structure and process with the city. We have our property that we just recently acquired that we're donated on 2nd Street. And we think that could be a good example and a good template of what some future donations and protection properties might look like. So that's kind of why we're here. First is just try to show what our vision is, where can we work together on a shared goal, a shared vision, and just reminders that we want to be part of the solution. We're not advocacy group, right? We're not telling you what you should do. We want to say, what do you guys want to do? What's the city's vision? Do our visions align, and how can we best support the city's goals? So,
Can I add something to that, Mark?
Sure.
And I wanted to just explain this to the council. Mark and John had provided the documentation that I put in the city council packet before I left on my days off. And I'm not sure that was ready for public at the moment. I think that what they're talking about is having some discussions, figuring out how to get there and working with the city. So that is not up for discussion tonight, that agreement, although it's probably going to be a framework for something that we work on in the future. How would you do you have any ideas of how to get the community through this, or through the council, through this discussion moving forward, whether that be a work session or?
Yeah, we can do anything. So first, it's kind of a first stop is does the city want to be involved in protecting lands on the epoxy? Right, so that's kind of the first question. And if so, what does that look like? Because we see it as a valuable area to protect, but also for our organization, it's hard for us to protect these lands, because a lot of times our acquisitions are grant funded, and grants typically are not wanting to pay a high value for these properties because they are residential lots, right? And so the price per acre, it's just not attractive for a grant to say, hey, can we spend hundreds of $1,000s on a half acre or a quarter acre or something like that. So just they're not going to be competitive grants, right? So just keep that in mind, that really what this is more looking like is, and it does kind of align with your ordinance 952, because all these properties are within the flood zone, the AE zone. So it's just give me a framework set up to where if any landowners want to donate property, we want the city, should the city be open to accepting donations, we want to help the city with that. So what that might look like is first, again, the city kind of having a discussion about, do you want to be involved in protecting those riparian lands along the creek? And if so, then what does a partnership with Northwest Land Conservancy look like? And so, yeah, the mutual agreement, the MOU that was shared, I should have been more clear. It was an example, not a draft. So I put the wrong word on that. So my apologies for that. But that's just an example agreement that we used in the past with other partners. And so that's the kind of language what it might look like. So just identifying a framework, clarifying what the scope of work is for both the city and NCLC, and how do we achieve any common goals. So yeah, a work session would be fine, multiple minute, sessions within a city council meeting too, back and forth about language and any agreement should that be a pathway forward. And then our hope is that if we're able to create a pathway forward, that we'd like to be able to use our Second Street property as kind of like an example of what does a donation look like? What does that lift look like? Do you need to include any sort of deed restriction language from those lands that are being developed in the future? And that might be different for different donated lands, right? Some landowners might want that very specifically, other landowners might not. And the city also has to think about, well, what is your vision now? But, we're a land trust, so we think about forever. And goals and visions can change in a century. So you don't want to tie your shoes too tight and not be able to do things you might want to do in the future. But if you're able to protect land now, we think that's a good thing.
That's great.
Yeah, we're more than willing to work with the city, with the council, to create a partnership and align with whatever the city's priorities are, both for conservation and long-term stewardship and watershed management. So, and I'm happy to answer any questions about what that might look like, or if there's anything on the slide presentation that I shared. I'm happy to talk about any details on that here. Yes.
Yeah, I have a question.
Sure.
So you own the property on Second Street, outright?
Yes.
So what you're saying that you ongoing grants that you would have to write, give me an example of what you would write a grant for is in regards to that property.
Not for that property. So that property was very, very unique. We really never had donation property occur like that. So that was fully community led. There were members of the community who were able to essentially raise the funds by themselves. And they needed us just to help with donating the funds to acquire the property. So it was a very unique situation. That type of acquisition has never happened with us before, and we don't really see it as a viable repeat all the time, just because the cost is so high. So there wouldn't be any grants associated with that property. Although as part of our, ongoing costs, just moving forward, stewardship and sort of management of the property in perpetuity, right? We raise funds for that as well.
Do you have insurance on the property?
Yes.
Any other questions?
Yeah, so, the transfer of the Second Street property to the city, is that based on this memorandum of understanding, or does that happen? Can that happen before we?
It could happen before. So whatever the city feels best, I think it might be good to establish, that framework, that scope of work first, and then kind of use that as an example, but it doesn't have to follow that path. The city is wanting to have that land, and is willing to accept it, we could donate it. So it doesn't necessarily have to be within this framework, but, we just thought it might be a good example of what something might look like.
And you all stepped in, correct me if I'm wrong, you all stepped in so that people who donated money to the Second Street property could claim that as a deduction on their taxes, right?
Which the city could do as well.
Right.
Is my understanding, right? And so, but there was just a lot of work that needed to be done just with tile review and, environmental site assessments and things like that. Right, so that's the technical expertise that we could provide. So if somebody is willing to donate money to acquire a property, they could do that with the city, and then we could step in and help and fill some of those knowledge gaps. So.
I'll just say, in lots of cases, right, cities aren't set up to accept donations or track donations, and so that's one thing that we can help with. Is really because that's what we do day-to-day operations, right? So that's one way, due diligence, acquisition, that kind of thing, but then also in the back end of donation tracking, because you have to send in follow-up letters and thank you letters and those types of things. So we can help with all that too.
So I don't want to rain on anybody's parade.
Yeah,
I mean, I've known Neil Main for a long time. And the guy that actually got him started was a fellow named Spencer Beebe, who started the Nature Conservancy.
Yeah.
And I really respect what you guys are doing. But as far as the city of Gearhart is concerned, my opinion is this is a zero net gain. This is an added expense to our pocket.
Right.
You guys, this property here had taxes paid on it since the inception of Gearhart. Okay, now you guys have taken it off the tax rolls.
we haven't, no.
Well, are you guys paying the taxes on the property?
We did, for this last year,
And you plan on doing that in the future?
potentially, yes.
Okay. Thank you.
But yeah, I mean, that is a question for the city, right, is land that could be donated could potentially be taken off the tax roll, right? And so and that is something you have to balance.
Yeah.
Most certainly, right? The counter argument might be, or just another point of view is, well, it's hard to quantify kind of those ecological services, like, protecting cleaner water or having just open space, having green space around. Those are the things that are always hard to quantify in economic terms, but they certainly can be an added benefit for a community, and if the community wants those things. So I do understand though, yeah, there could be some additional financial burden for the city in those situations. But again, that's just something that the city has to try and balance. It's like, again, how do you quantify all the positive things that having open space is? It's hard to do. It's hard to say, like, this tree is worth that amount of money, right?
Yeah.
Other than.
But basically your plan is to donate that property to the city and have the city maintain it and everything else. We just heard from Mark Fadden. I mean, he's got a limited number of employees. They're just busier than anything. And to add another burden on top of that, I don't think it's, from my standpoint, as a council,
Right.
I don't see any advantage to that. If you guys want to maintain the property and you guys want to take care of it and everything like that, that's fine. But I don't think that the city, personally, I don't think we should enter, an agreement where we take all the expense.
In your experience, what type of maintenance in that property required?
And really, it's in our long-term stewardship, we kind of have three different elements. If does the property need just protection, where we just let it do its thing? Is there any sort of light restoration that needs, or does it need just active management? And so we usually club our property into one of those three categories, but there's always nuance to that. And so other than maybe treating some ivy or any hazard trees. We just, that probably would be more in the protection category. Where you just,
Right, the land stewards, myself included,
yeah,
removed all the ivy.
yeah,
So you've got that as a volunteer effort, that's not an expense to the city.
yeah, we have a huge volunteer base that helps with things like that.
So potentially there could be very little in the way of maintenance for that property.
For that property, yeah.
And I would say generally most problems on the epoxy, we would categorize as protection, which essentially we just let those, we would just let them sit there. We would have, they'd have no maintenance at all, right? So, but I mean, that's a larger conversation too, in terms of, that's why it'd be nice to be able to have a work session where we can sit down and talk through these things together.
Yeah.
And make sure that, there is some overlap there and there's some mutual understanding and agreement. So we look forward to continuing the conversation.
All right.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Yeah, I know, you have my email that's on the front of that slide presentation, so, feel free to email me with any additional questions that pop up, on a Saturday or Sunday or whenever.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
You're welcome. I also have a copy of our conservation plan, so I can leave that with Chad, just so you guys have a copy of that. So, yeah,
All right, thank you, gentlemen.
yeah. Happy holidays, everybody.
Thank you.
Same to you. You'll be hearing from us.
Okay.
Okay. Ready? Moving on. Public communication, written and oral. Hey, here's the word. Anyone wishing to address the city council concerning items of interest not on the agenda may do so at this time. All remarks will be limited to 5 minutes per person. Requests to comment electronically must be submitted by email to the city recorder at info@cityofgearhart.com no later than 4 p.m. the day of the meeting. In-person attendees wishing to speak are required to sign in prior to the meeting. All right, so we have 2 sign-ins. And I'm gonna go, number 1 is, I want to say Rick Newton. State your name and address, please.
Well, I'm Rick Newton, I live at 765 Southwest 8th in Warrenton, but I own 1668 Pfeiffer Heights. That's one of my houses I own. Does that tell you everything you need to know? Okay. I'm here because Miss Hamilton offered me her house for a ridiculously cheap price that I would not take because I don't take advantage of people. So I started looking at the hole in the ground and I'd like to put that to bed tonight. She did not call me in, but I'm often called in to hunt, to figure out things. When you have a thief, I love hunting humans. I gotta tell you, that's so much fun. But I sort things down till I get to the bottom and 2 things pop out the bottom. And so it took me several months to figure everything out as to who owns the hole. And I hate to tell you, but you guys do. So I'll give you these. Yes. A city manager in another city that I work with all the time to help. I had him go through here and his opinion was you guys own. And I'm not trying. Oh, I almost forgot. I've worked with North Coast Land Conservancy for more than 25 years. They have great group. They will not take advantage of you, I do not believe. And I helped them get the acreage next to me. So, okay, when you're looking here, Mr. Mayor, let's start with the first arrow on the front, please. Read me what that says. March what?
You go ahead. You can.
Okay, 1979. Next page, ordinance 512. Now, do you see where my next arrow is about an ordinance and annexing Pfeiffer Heights to the city of Gearhart, subject to rights and all the other stuff there, which describes it. Okay, let's go to the last page, which is the bullet. You see on the last page where I highlighted C, Staff report was favorable in that it appeared that the income to the city would exceed the expense in providing city services. Now, maybe my guy's wrong, but normally he's not. He said that includes the infrastructure in the ground just like anywhere else. So I'm sorry, I'm not here to bust Chad's chops because I like him. But when you do investigations, you can't change how you look. So I'll let you guys figure out what point you. I'm sorry, Chad, I'm not here to bust you.
No, this is something that we know about and we have discussed.
Okay,
And I'm not prepared to update the council on where that was because of the lawsuits that we were working through, but it was determined that, well, there was no determination of this
well,
drainage system.
this determined though, I believe.
And it's under private property, but that, yeah, we
But if you,
realize
if
that.
you look at the other one, and that's from 1979. The main reason I did this is because when Ms. Hamilton walked into her house to talk to me, she has PTSD from dealing with this. From my looking, I understand it was first reported in 2016 or 17, there's a soft spot there. And anybody's been around knows that when you get a soft spot, that means water's taking sand away. Whether it's a road, a garden, whatever it is, something's moving. 2019, I understand she started dealing. And I have to tell you, she sold her house cheap. She looks so much better, you can't believe it. It's like a ton of weight was lifted off her toes. Because I tell you what, I was prepared to assist her to take you guys to court. And it's not whether I like somebody or not, it's got nothing to do with it. Right and wrong is how I work. So anyway, she does not want to attack you in any way further, which is good. But, and I'm sorry, but I believe you, not ODOT, not the county, anybody else owns that hole in the ground. So do you have any questions for me?
Yes, so I thought the hole was not sinking anymore.
I have no idea. I've watched it go down all the time, so I don't pay any attention. It's just a hole in the ground. If it is not sinking, that means the pipe, I'm sorry, this is my opinion, the pipe may be completely collapsed where it can't move any water.
Okay, so I'm a little confused, because did you plant the big tree that's planted in the middle of it?
Well,
I did not.
there's a different ownership. You don't own the house.
I do not, but somebody from the.
Somebody else bought that,
Oh, he didn't.
and so he's just referring to the past.
Got it.
And I believe that hole will keep going down as long as it does.
There's
Now,
a
my,
big
my,
tree planted in the middle of the hole.
oh, great. So then you have roots to contend with too. I got one property that's got that problem too. My storm drains are not working at 1668, but I hope it's just sand on my side. I don't know yet. I will be finding out, of course. And I hope you'll still talk to me then. Any other questions?
I don't have any questions
Okay.
at this time. Rick, thank you very much.
Now, if you want to, if you have questions for me, call me. There's one thing I will tell you. I will not lie to you, even if you don't like what I got to say. And on that note, if you want to know what's going on in Warrenton, go to Facebook and look up Warrenton Deserves Better. I guarantee you will be amazed with the stuff that goes on.
Thank you.
You.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, I need to run because we're providing the life care patties, but I need to run.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you for stopping by.
He did provide his information.
Okay,
And you'll forward this stuff to our other chat and we can look at, make sure that there's nothing that is wearable.
Yeah, and update the chat, because this was one of the last cases Peter worked, we had resolved the legal issues, we just haven't resolved fix for it, so that will be.
Okay.
I'm
Thank you.
sorry. Oh. That was hard after you Monday. And
You too.
thank you for your wonderful project, dance studio, and that's a great asset.
I don't know if Chad would agree with this, but I would recommend that we all present it to Chad and let him make any future comments on this until we get some more direction from him.
And I'm sorry, what was his last name?
Newton.
Newton,
Rick Newton.
NEWTON.
Okay, moving on. TJ McDonald.
Yeah,
Hey, your name and address, please.
yeah, it's 3007 Pine Ridge Drive. My comments are relative to what Chad was gonna present, so if Chad's not gonna present anything, then I'll hold my comments.
He hasn't had a chance to speak yet, and he told me in front of me that he was going to give a report. Is that gonna happen, or
Yes, it's on the agenda.
when does it happen?
New business at the end, community survey results. So we've got a few things to go through that I think we'll be able to get through fairly.
I'll wait for your comments.
Okay, you know, this is your time to comment now. And there won't
It's
be.
hard for me to comment because I'm gonna comment about a survey that went out, and I don't have the results.
Right, but the thing is, your comments are limited to things not on the agenda. So I have to stop you and say, you're not gonna comment on something that's gonna be on the agenda and reported to on the agenda. You're allowed to speak on items not pertaining to the agenda. Now,
So
we can have a 3-minute comment after Chad, but that's all it'll be. It won't be a 5-minute comment. Okay,
Thank you.
you had something to say?
oh, I was just gonna ask if he could email us his comments after the meeting. So, thanks.
Yeah, okay. I'm gonna move on to written public comment. We have, and this is the only letter from Tom Tees.
Yeah, there's one on the back.
Oh, and that's the population estimate. Isn't that interesting?
Up every year.
It goes down every year?
Okay.
I'm sorry. That wasn't very nice.
And Mayor, I do have one more piece of correspondence I wanted to discuss as well that I've got here. It's a little piece.
A little piece that I'm gonna read about right now. And we also have this.
Can I just ask one, sorry,
Sure.
can I ask one question about the Portland State report?
Mhm.
Do they know who's died?
Yeah, I think so. I think that enters into their calculations. I'm not sure exactly how though.
Department
I'm
of
not
Health
positive.
Services?
But I would assume that the Oregon Health Department would report, but I don't know exactly how.
I've got a comment on this report. Okay, so the first was 4/1/2020, right? 1807 population. Right? So, and then they did 7/1/2020. So we gained 44 people. And then in 7/1/25, we only 7/1/24 to 7/1/25. With all the development that we've had here in Gearhart, we only increased by 10 people.
That's why I was asking about the deaths.
No, I just want to know where this guy's head is
Well,
and what information he's actually.
but if you subtract the deaths, then that,
Maybe, and some of the homes that are being built and the people that are coming.
There are more people living in Gearhart right now than I've ever seen.
Agree, and the numbers do, the 22.5% increase from the 2010 to the 2020 definitely show that. And Peter's point when he was dealing with this was, are they showing, is it accurate? And it challenged them and they moved a little bit, and I think that's one of those adjustments, but it really wasn't that solid. We've updated Chad Jacobs on this, he's taking a look at it. There's also a lot of people that build homes here in the community that are not living in them, you know, that there's second homes. So there is a consideration for that. Whether or not it's accurate is very difficult to answer, and Peter was not able to get very far with that, working with PSU to try to get them to redetermine some things. And so we're waiting to see what the new figures are. We forwarded those to Chad Jacobs, and we'll have some conversations with him to see if there's any wiggle room, but it is the census. It's a slow, long, arduous process. I'm not sure exactly.
I think if you go down to Rishi Development, I think that the majority of those houses are full-time residents.
Yeah, and whether or not they say they're full-time, or that they're saying that they're actually full-time elsewhere for tax purposes, or they're not registered here locally, they're registered in Portland at their home, because they'd rather vote there than vote here, so that doesn't show them as residents. I think there are people living in Gearhart that are not residents of Gearhart, but they're living here, you know, and that's residents defined as by the census. So there's a lot of moving parts to this, and it became very difficult for us to weed through it. And there didn't seem to be a lot of butter on that bread to be able to make them understand that we believe that we've grown much more than that. And they're like, well, this is the information we have. How do we, you know, and this is a door-to-door census. And then they spent months and months going to homes that did not respond. And then they came up with the numbers. We don't agree with them, but I'm not sure that there's much that we can do. Also,
Well, have them go around door to door, not in winter, but in the summertime,
that was an issue as well, yeah.
because good gosh sakes.
Mhm.
Okay, so moving on. The next, was there another question?
Yeah, I just wondered if what we want to do about Tom Tease's request. So I noticed that.
I noticed it too, but there comes a point. It didn't get so loud that it bothered my concentration on what was going on. And if it bothers a counselor, they need to let me know and I'll gavel them down.
Okay,
I did stare them down a couple of times and that did. When you have two people that have no common sense. They're just gonna sit there and do their
okay.
little,
So for future reference, if they're
just let me know
right in real time.
in real time and I'll gavel them down.
Thanks.
I have a certain amount of patience, but they were trying. And this is all about the two women who sat in that back there and just talked to each other. No, not you, Lee. But they just gabbed like they owned this building. They were very rude. And I can tell you their names. I'm not going to. If they were here, I would. All right, so the other letter is a false survey claims letter. And this is brought to us by Jack Zimmerman. And he quotes that there was no social media misinformation and that we were making false statements about what our AI came up with and the fact that there was misinformation and dishonesty remarks on our survey. Chad, I would like you to go over this for us.
Yes, sir. So this was a message that was received, and does everybody have a copy of it?
Yeah.
Okay. This is a message received on Saturday, November 29th, after the update that I gave on the basic information on the survey. And he just said that certain statements by the city administrator during the council's last work session have been published verbatim on AMFOG. The CA's false claim was published and fact-checked by AMFOG by independent reviewing and documenting all responses to the survey. The entirety of this review has been circulated to all social media groups and was received very critically. He said, my survey responses show clearly and confirms conclusively that Gearhart has known for years that voters are sick of the false narratives. He took exception, he gave me a rating of 100% false or 4 Pinocchios. And what he found is that he reviewed all 494 written comments, that was the 119 plus the 375 for the public safety building survey. And what people actually said were that they were comments complaining about social media misinformation were 0. And he went out to all of the social media groups. He reported this. He said that it was false what I said. And I didn't have the information right in front of me during that last meeting to go into detail, nor did I. It was a mention that some people did mention that there was a lot of misinformation on Facebook. So when he came back to me, gave me 4 Pinocchios of 100% false and said that he went to all of his social media groups and reported how wrong I was, I replied back to him. My reply back to him is, hi, Jack, I need to address the claim there are 0 comments complaining about social media misinformation. That statement is simply not true. Below are the direct quotes from the survey taken exactly as submitted, showing this misinformation, rumors, and misleading Facebook posts that were a major recurring theme in the community feedback. Now, I'm not gonna read them all, but I think there's about 25 of them or so that are in here. And they read things such as the online comments on Facebook have been all over the place and full of wrong information. There's so much misinformation being spread, it's hard to know what to believe. Lots of rumors going around and the city isn't correcting that. I think that's more on us than it is on them, but there is false information going on. People online are telling lies about the project. Someone on Facebook said the city already bought the land. People are saying different things about the cost. I keep hearing you've already chose the park site and the survey is fake. The process has created many more conspiracy. The rumor mill is out of control. Facebook has made the whole thing worse. The city needs to push back harder on false info going around. Rumors are getting in the way of discussion. Too many people think the survey is a joke because of what they read online. I didn't fill this out because of the Facebook drama. Social media has turned this into a circus. People say the survey can be filled out multiple times and that it's rigged. Some people on Facebook claim they completed the survey multiple times. And then there was another one here. It was like, hi, thanks for doing this. My preference would be option A. I don't know who this person is, but this is a comment. For many reasons, mostly those financial, more suitable, I believe the city should maintain it. But goes through what his thoughts are on his option and his choices. And he says, I hope the city council will ignore the noise online, Zimmerman, etc. It is largely misinformation and intentionally divisive. This is disappointing to watch. I've never had to go out and really kind of challenge somebody on these statements. I know what happens on Facebook, and there's a lot of misinformation that goes around. There's stories that get bigger as they're being told, or people that don't have the information. But I can say, Jack and his group has not come to the city to ask us any questions about these issues. There are, in fact, a lot of people that were upset about Facebook. There are some people that were upset that we didn't push back hard on Facebook and those social media things. But I can tell you, in my experience of working with Facebook and the way that the people, some of the conversations go in some of these groups, and I'm not identifying any of them, is that as soon as you bring up a Facebook, any information that you want to or correct something, the attacks then become very personal. They're not about what's in, what is actually real. It becomes a destroying of persons online. And so I really stand back from Facebook because I don't like to get into it. I think it is a good information source, but I just wanted to bring up that is giving us 4 Pinocchios, specifically me, and 100% false. It's not true. He, to my knowledge, hasn't retracted that. I offered to have him come in and discuss this with you in the council during this meeting, and he's not here today. He may have a good reason, but he didn't respond. So I just wanted to clarify that for the city. We're working as hard as we can to try to get as much information out. There is some people that feel that Facebook is part of the problem. There's many things that are difficult about the situation. And what I want for the community is to support our volunteers, to support our fire department, and to help us figure out a way to get through the situation. You folks have done a lot of good work, and I don't want somebody kind of ripping down the city and the council and its staff when it's just simply not true. So
Thank you.
No one said.
Believe nothing of what you hear. About 15% of what you read nowadays, and only half of what you see.
Okay, we're gonna move on. Next is ordinance and resolutions, ordinance 952. An ordinance repealing ordinance 947 in its entirety and replacing the text of zoning ordinance section 3.10 flood hazard overlay zone to implement FEMA's ESA-PICM standards with Gearhart revisions. Now, we've already discussed this. We've already read it once. We're going for a second read by title only, and then it will become law, if you will, in 30 days. Can I get a motion to approve ordinance 952 based on the findings in the staff report, repealing ordinance 947 in its entirety and replacing the text of the flood hazard overlay zone with Exhibit A.
Move to approve ordinance 952, second read. An ordinance repealing ordinance 947 in its entirety and replacing the text of zoning ordinance section 3.10 flood hazard overlay zone to implement FEMA's ESA-Pickham standards with Gearhart provisions.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Against? So,
I'm abstaining.
okay. You got that, Justine? Moving on. Old business. Anyone wanting to comment at this time can raise their hand in the audience on old business. We're talking city attorney decision. Seeing none, we'll move on. So we have three options: continue BEH temporarily while council further evaluates the city's legal service needs, continue recruitment discussions, and direct staff to enter into negotiations with Mr. Lewis. Does anyone have anything they want to say?
Well,
Have we had any other applicants?
No, sir, but the RFP period of time is closed. We've not reopened it.
I personally would like to see the RFP be opened again. I would like to, as much as I like Mr. Luce, I think we need to have someone in state that may have a little more experience with Oregon law, because not having any experience and working with two lawyers from this firm is just, I don't think it's viable for our little city.
Why don't we do this assessment of what our long-term legal needs are? Why don't we start there? If the BEH is willing to cover us until we have a more clear picture of what our needs are, you know, for the next 5 years or so. Why don't we do that? And from there, if we need to reopen, I mean, if we need to reopen the RFP, we can do that once we know what we're gonna ask for, because we may want to change the RFP based on assessment. And as far as Mr. Luce goes, I would keep him in consideration, but I would want to interview the land use attorney first. I mean, I think we would need to interview his partner for sure.
I agree with all of the comments. I liked Mr. Luce a lot, but I think that the learning curve would be difficult for a little city like us, and as much as we rely on our attorney as an integral part of the team, they have to be able to hit the ground running. And we rely on them to tell us a lot of information we don't know. We don't have the time to tell them information that they should already know. So and BEH has been doing a phenomenal job and is hanging in there with us. So I agree that we should assess first, figure out what we need, get better information before we go out for another RFP. And I don't think putting out an RFP after one just closes is really gonna give us the best results anyway. I think we need to wait a little time.
Okay, so if I'm understanding what we're doing, we'll put on a future agenda item to look at the RFP again.
No, we need to have a work session so we can figure out what it is we want. And then we can put it on the agenda,
What
because
our needs are.
Yeah, I was kind of going to use the RFP process to do that, but I agree with you. Absolutely, sir. So the RFP could be a vessel to help us. make some
right,
as well.
it could be a guide
A guide.
to where we want to be when we get on the boat.
Okay, we won't be able to get that on this next work session agenda, which is going to be on the 30th of this month. I'll be the 5th Tuesday, right? There might be some date issues. I'll get that out to Kristen to make sure that we can get that in there. We have a couple of issues we need to take care of on that agenda, which is potentially any future action, to discuss the future action options for the fire station and to work on contractor work, hours ordinance is something that we, need to get involved with. So we'll put that out for a date for you to choose from, and we'll look at scheduling another work session with that as the agenda item.
So you're thinking January?
I'm gonna have to spend some time to figure out our schedules,
But
Did you
not,
say-
not December.
not December. I don't think that adding a third item to the December thing.
Okay,
Would be beneficial.
that's all I needed to know.
I'll work with the mayor on that, and we can make that determination, but if we get 3 items on there, it'll be a very long meeting anyway. We've been putting off the contract work hours for long enough.
Yeah,
It's time to keep working on that as well.
Yeah, I would like to get that resolved.
But we had that pretty well lined out because Chad had given us the things to consider. So, I mean, we can all pull that document back out and read it and review it and kind of get our thoughts together. I mean, even if it is January when we do that, we can do our homework. What we think we might want to change or keep the same.
Well, my understanding was we were holding up because Chad Jacobs said there might be some more things that would be coming from their office. As far as if we were gonna look at this as the whole comprehensive evaluation of the existing ordinance, that we only have to do this once. There might be some other things that they would, from a legal perspective, might recommend.
If I want to involve it a little bit more, they took a pretty quick look at it and study, and gave us some information, in a pretty short period of time, so there's probably some other things that need to be considered. But, so we would have, potential, public safety building, to discuss, and then contractor work hours to discuss. You know, I can work with the mayor and take a look at the agenda and see how much we're gonna pack into that, depending on where we end up. We've got a few things up in the air over the next couple of weeks with the public safety building. I'm not sure how much time we have to spend on that, but I did have a conversation with Chad Jacobs. He is good. They have had some changes in their, situation. They've got a couple of new attorneys that are on, and they're, they're capable of helping us through, to the summertime. So we've got a little bit of wiggle room. So we just need to adjust, take a look at our schedules and see how much we want to accomplish in that one work session. So I'll
Okay.
leave the mayor on that. We can have that discussion this week, and then Christie and I will reach out to you and we'll put some dates out.
Chad Jacobs. And we've touched on 2 subjects that we should have touched with you and gotten your consideration. Can you work with us as we dive into this, what we need as an assessment for a lawyer if we want to put out another RFP?
Sure, absolutely.
And since your firm can go until summertime, I really appreciate that. That way it takes a lot off our shoulders trying to do everything at once. But the workers hours, you gave that to Chad? The
Yeah, so-
information?
So Chad and I have had some preliminary conversations when we first started looking at this. Then it sort of got put on hold for a little bit, and then we were emailing right before the break, and he asked if we could bring that back to the forefront. And so I'm having an associate in our office work on that right now. The one lawyer who was working on it in our office recently left, and so as Chad just mentioned, we have some new lawyers coming in, and so I'm going to have one of them work on that with me to get you some more information about the other areas that we had identified that are sort of problematic with the ordinance. And so if you want to have that on your work session for December 30th, we could certainly have that information back to you before that.
Okay. All right, thank you very much, Chad.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
All right, we're gonna move on. To new business, you can request for a 3-minute comment. And I have no idea if it's supposed to be before or after, but I'm gonna make it so it's after. All right, planning commission appointments, I have Don Frank and Emerson Fisher, sorry, Emerson, just, I had it written down and I turned it over. We had no new applications, so that's why we didn't have any interviews. I'd like to nominate Don Frank and Emerson Fisher to be reappointed to the planning commission.
Do you need a second or?
I need a second.
I'll give you a second.
Don't we need to do that them separately?
No.
No.
I don't need to do that. I'm sorry, that's a little presumptuous, but no, I'm doing it all at once. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Emerson, another 3 years of your life. Ball and chain.
Hey, the first year was fun.
And for your service.
All right. Moving on. The next thing is a liquor license application review, special event, Pacific Pickens. And included with this is going to be in your desktop package is also a liquor license review for a special event, Prep Kitchen. That's the place across the highway close to the Mexican restaurant. I just ate there the other day. I had a great sandwich, Cuba. What? It's been corrected every time. Cubano. My mistake again. English, foreign language, Carrie. All right, so the new liquor license for Pacific Pickens is the same as we had before. They want to serve wine inside. And that's this weekend, the 7th.
I'll give you a motion to approve Pacific Pickens liquor license application for its special event.
I said,
All those, any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So passed. Next one is a liquor license application for a special event with Prep Kitchen. Now, Prep Kitchen is in a C2 zone, and what they want is a special event, full liquor license, so they can have brunch on Saturdays on 3 different occasions. 4 different occasions, as you can tell, as soon as you find it on the application.
Back page is synopsis under event information.
Event date is the 21st and January 10th, 24th, and February 7th. What they want to do is be able to serve brunch from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m.
Distilled spirits.
including distilled spirits.
And they're marking it as a private event.
And this is this is in a C2 zone. So we're not talking about a place that doesn't have the ability to have a liquor license.
So I'll make a motion to approve Prep Kitchen's liquor license application for all of the events. Listed, provided the required fee is paid with the required application and insurance documentation no more than 5 days prior to each event.
Okay, I would like to add a little condition, and if anything gets sideways at any of these.
Do we need to get somebody to second it before we make the change?
Oh,
I'll second.
so if anything goes sideways, and when I mean sideways, where we have to call someone to enforce a law or minor, all the other, dates are canceled as far as our liquor license approval.
So Mayor, after our conversation, I wrote down a couple of different things that I think that there's three items I would like to add into the motion. If you would consider. The first is that the fee is actually $25 times 4, so it would be
Yeah.
100 because it's $25 per event.
Right.
So we would expect to receive 4 fees from that. The other is that if there are any, if there is any problem occurs, the city reserves the right to revoke events afterwards. Because we've never done one that has 4 dates on it. So my only concern is that something happens, it's not working out, we need to revoke that, just to give us the opportunity and ability to do that, there's no promotion. The third thing would be because we added this at the last minute, because he came in and we're trying to support the businesses by having these events, but the public didn't have the ability to see this and potentially go against it. It's not an absolute requirement, but I would say that if between now and their first event, if there was any objections that came our way, then his events may be canceled. If the.
Any
Depending on council, well, I guess that would not be a great way to put that, would it? Then the council may consider that for the future. For these dates as well. So similar to if there's any problems, that if there's any objections, the council may have to take this matter up prior to him having more events.
So, Mr. Jacobs, could we say if there was a reasonable objection, would that add?
I apologize, I'm trying to track the conversation. I don't have the documents that you have in front of you.
Oh.
So I just have one quick question. Is this like a special event permit application under the local code that you're considering?
Yes.
Correct.
And so as long as we're able to impose conditions under the code, you know, I think the council could, we would want the council to either make the decision or delegate authority to Chad to make the decision based on the objections. You know, if the objections meet the criteria in the code to deny the permit, then we would do so. And so you want to link it back to the code and the requirements in the code, as opposed to just saying any objections or even reasonable objections, if that makes sense.
It does.
Okay.
So
So-
Dana,
How do we
the
know?
issue. Dana, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah,
Christy,
Christie, we can,
can you
this is
hear
Yeah,
Christie.
go ahead, Christie.
Sorry, the bars on my screen are yellow, so it makes it sound like the connection is off. The issue is not of some kind of an objection. The issue is that the ordinance states that the applicant or anybody that may be affected by the request has the right to request a public hearing before the final recommendation is made. And so that's what was missing from the step when you're doing it last minute. Nobody was given the chance to say, I want a public hearing. And it also states that the public hearing would be published in the newspaper if it is requested. So all of that gets skipped when you do this last minute. There was no opportunity for that.
Okay,
And what are the dates of their,
December 21st, January 10th, and February, and January 24th and February 7th.
How long has this guy been in business?
Not long, I don't believe.
months maybe?
So we would have to come back and have a special meeting for him in order to approve December 21st, but we'll have another city council meeting before January 10th.
That's correct.
Is that what I'm hearing?
That is correct.
And I mean, it's not a situation we created. He turned this in today,
Yesterday.
yesterday, so still not enough time to really give adequate notice before this meeting.
Correct.
However,
He did send his OLCC portion to Chad and planning on Halloween, though.
Okay,
okay, I have a question though. So in the past, we allowed Chad to approve these without the city council being involved. I think if I'm listening to Mr. Jacobs correctly, what he's saying is, in this case, we can designate it to Chad. Y'all can do what you need to do. Would that still give you enough time, notice? And then if, you know, if we go back to the old way, as long as the council agrees on this particular one, we're not giving you a blanket, let's go back to the old ways on everything. But on this particular one, we can designate Chad as the person to make the decision on this one.
but they don't get a hearing if someone objects.
Well, how did they get a possibility? You just advertised it, so you could advertise it.
Well, no, we don't, we just put it in the council packet, that is the only advertisement we have to do. The advertisement comes in if somebody would like to appeal the decision essentially. And then we would advertise that.
So it's in the council packet. We give it to you, wait a reasonable period of time to hear if anybody wants to object. And then we would create a hearing, but assuming that nobody does raise an objection that would trigger all of that, then it's approved for December 21st. Does that sound right? Mr. Jacobs, can you hear that?
Yeah, I can. I was just trying to take a quick look at your ordinance. I was pulling it up online. Yeah, I think what makes the most sense here is to, if the council wants to approve because of the timing issues, the event this month, it should go ahead and do so. And then for the subsequent events, go ahead and follow your normal procedures. So you would have this as an agenda item on your January meeting for the subsequent events.
Yeah.
I think based on the lack of notice, if someone comes in and has major concerns about this event for the December event, we can address that at that point in time. And worst case scenario, we can hold a special meeting and actually hold a hearing. But I would not want to necessarily say that you have to do that now without knowing that there's any objections out there whatsoever. And so I think the most prudent course again then would be go ahead, you can move forward with the December approval now, and then the subsequent events, have those on your January agenda and follow your normal process.
Okay.
I think that's really fair.
Okay, so do I need to amend my motion to approve the Prep Kitchen's liquor license application for all proposed special event dates listed, provided the required fee is paid, the required fees are paid with the required application and insurance documentation no more than 5 days prior to each event? Right? No, or do you want them all paid now?
You know, I think what we would do is I would approve the December date.
Right.
We
Okay.
would approve the December date now, and then we would move more into the traditional way of doing
Okay.
this by.
Okay, so I withdraw my previous motion. And I submit a new motion to approve the Prep Kitchen's liquor license application for December 21st, 2025. Only, provided the required fee is paid with the required application insurance documentation no more than 5 days prior to the event.
I second.
And we'll bring the rest back.
And we'll bring the rest back
January's
in the
council.
January city council meeting.
Thank you for all your help.
All right,
Is that done?
we have a second. Okay, is there any more discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
We do have a second, or we?
Mayor Smith, seconded.
Okay, so aye.
Okay. Aye.
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 Okay.
At least it's not.
Sound like a bunch of spinach eaters.
All right, so that's all done. Going to discussion rules of the council. If you have a draft in front of you, does anyone have a change they want to incorporate into the rules of the council? Everyone's happy with the rules that we had last year?
Yep.
Okay, does anyone want to make a motion to accept the rules of the council, and Chad will bring us a non-draft form next?
I'm sorry that there's a draft stamp on there. There's no changes to what you currently have in place and that you have signed.
Yeah.
There's no action if you have no changes. So by consensus, you can give me instructions to continue on. We'll leave the rules of the council as they are this year, or you can suggest some changes, then we would need a motion.
I would certainly consent to just getting a clean document in my mailbox and I'd sign it and return it to you.
It isn't broke, don't fix it.
Okay,
Was that by consensus?
yes. Yeah. We're good to move on. Community survey results.
Okay, I've got my hand up for you here. This is just another way that we looked at the survey results as provided in the packet. Kind of some synopsis. Also on the comments. First one is the synopsis on the comments. The second one is the information on the survey. And then I'm passing these around and make copies for you folks too. Notes. Okay. This one. Oh, other than I need a copy.
We need one more set over here.
Should have, I see it for you.
Thank you.
Did you get it? There you go. Then we'll also post these online as well.
Have both, yeah.
So, Mayor, to start off with, would you like me to just read through the synopsis, first part real quick?
Yeah.
The city would like to extend a sincere thank you to the community for their outstanding participation in the public safety building survey. More than 700 responses were received. I think that's an exceptional level of engagement that reflects the community's strong interest in the future of this project. Final draft of the survey was received in October, and staff was directed to release it on Tuesday, October 28th, and keep it open for 3 weeks. A total of 672 community survey invitation flyers were mailed using an inclusive distribution list of water customers, registered voters, and property owners. The survey was available online via a link QR code, the city website, blog, and social media. Reminders posted at least twice weekly. Paper copies were offered at City Hall, and any mailed surveys postmarked by the closing date were accepted. 48 printed, 39 taken, 18 returned, 15 entered, 3 lacking rankings, not included. Survey closed Wednesday, November 19th, with a final count of 704 responses, compared to the 947 responses over a 3-month period in the 2019 survey. Results are attached in raw format for your review. What I did is just kind of interpret some of the information and the net support. The first title on it is net support, view support minus opposition. And then the other is a condensed comment summary. A lot of information in those comments, and I did again work with staff, use some AI, but these put into Excel spreadsheets to help determine comments. I never had in this period of time, just let people know, I don't have any access, or I've been given access to any names of any of the surveys, so I don't have any identification of anybody. But if you look at that first document, the net support view, support minus opposition, kind of pairs down all the information in the survey. The option was downtown new building, 67, this is the new building at 33 to 35 million. 167 folks supported it, 455 opposed. So that gave us a net support of minus 288. Remodeled downtown, 363 supported it, 257 opposed it. That gives you a net support potential plus 106. Dunes Meadow Park, 151 supported it, 509 opposed it, for a total net support of 358. And the Highland site, pretty even, support was 304, opposition was 301 for a +3. So the key insights on this is option B is the only option with strongly positive momentum. Option D is essentially a tie. It has real support, but also real division. And options A and C just have divisive community rejection.
So can you explain your methodology then? If the support, does that include highly support and somewhat support?
Great question.
Neutral is not used at all, and then the opposition is the two on the other side.
Yeah, neutral, not necessarily not used, but the strongly support and somewhat support were added together. Strongly opposed and somewhat opposed were added together.
Right.
Good questions about that part. Number 2 is the strong feelings only. Kind of shows intensity, not just the totals. Matters because city council decisions are shaped by how intensely people feel. Strong report, so this is just the strong support and the strong opposition. Downtown new building, strongly support 63, strongly opposed 345. Downtown remodel, strongly support 182, strongly opposed 157. Dunes Meadow Park 73 and 428. And Highland site, strongly support 152 and strongly opposed 221. Key insights on these, from my perspective, B has the largest base, strong supporters, of course. C has the largest base, strong opponents by a mile. D has a significant strong support base, but is also very heavily strongly opposed. And A is deeply disliked. It's minimal strong support. Kind of gives you an idea of where people are on either side. Questions about that? Number 3, the 2-path strategy view. Data clearly suggests the community is split not across 4 options, but across 2 philosophical paths. Path 1, downtown solutions. Option A and option B. Option A is the new downtown. Option B is the remodeled downtown. Path 2 is the upland or tsunami resilience solutions. Option C and option D. When grouped, downtown versus upland support totals, downtown support A plus B is 530. Upland support C plus D is 455. So it's just a way to look at this. Downtown versus upland opposition totals, A plus B is 712. Upland opposition is at 810. Key insights. The community is divided not on remodel versus new build alone. Deeper divide is downtown versus out of downtown location. And C kind of inflated the anti-upland sentiment, honestly. So really, so D alone is much more balanced. Consensus versus controversy. Which options create unity versus division? B, the remodel downtown, consensus level high, interpretations are high support, moderate opposition, lowest controversy. This is just an interpretation from my perspective in using the system. B is the Highland site, medium consensus level, nearly equal support and opposition. Divisive, but is it viable? More of a question. Downtown new build, low, little support, strong opposition, and park consensus level negative. Strongest opposition, politically not viable. Council wants a unifying path. Option B would be your choice. If you want forward-looking, risk-resilient option, then you'd be accepting the debate for option D. And council wants to avoid political trauma, it says to avoid A and C altogether. Okay, just in case you didn't get that. I'm here to support it. Number 5, issue driver view, what matters most to the respondents. The factor that matters most to the respondents is explain why people answer the way that they do. Common top drivers, summaries pulled from the data set and comment themes. Cost and affordability, number 1. Public safety and resilience was number 2. Protecting the parks, number 3. Maintaining community character. Trust and transparency was in there quite a bit. Traffic site and access concerns. This tells counselors why B performed well, lowest cost, fastest path. Why C is toxic, people do not want to lease their park. Why D has meaningful support. Snowy safety, yeah, it does make sense. Why A struggles, highest cost and downtown disruption. This helps them, helps you align the messaging with actual voter priorities. We also have this feasible path forward view. Based on the results, the city realistically has option 1, move towards remodeling, which is option B. Declare community preference in the survey, lowest backlash, most used. Option 2, evaluate the Highlands. Option D, further. Significant support exists, but controversy is real. And we need a lot of careful outreach and a lot more educating on all sides. Option 3 is to remove options A and C from consideration. That strongly supports eliminating both. A is financially and politically underwater, and C has overwhelming park opposition. You really cannot succeed. And I don't think anybody will understand. So bottom line is, don't pursue the park line or large downtown new build. Remodeling downtown is the least controversial and most supported. And the Highland site has meaningful support and may deserve more exploration, but requires a lot of careful community engagement. So that just supplements what the raw data in here shows. I don't know if you want me to go line by line over this next part. The condensed comment summary. I can do it quickly if you like.
Well, I don't know if we need to do every single one, but
Well, there is the key takeaways.
that in the summary statement.
Yeah. So number 4, the key takeaways for the council would be cost is the single strongest driver of public opinion across all options. Number 2 is park preservation is a deeply held value. Option C is broadly rejected. Remodel of downtown, option B has the broadest support and the fewest objections. Highland, option D has meaningful support, but also significant division. 5, ranked choice complaints were limited and not representative of an overall sentiment. Residents want clear, factual communication to counter misinformation. The summary would be the written comments strongly reinforce the quantitative results. Community favors remodeling as the least controversial, most affordable path. The Highland site warrants continued evaluation for resilience benefits, and the park and new downtown build options face divisive public eyes.
Question,
Yes, ma'am.
just curious. Did you do all this or did AI help?
Yeah, I've been open about that. So what I did is I uploaded all the comments into AI and asked them multiple questions, asked it to confirm. Then I challenged AI over and over again, and I did start to get some different results afterwards. But then we came to an agreement, looked at the situation a little bit differently, verified a lot of the results, and so this is accurate. I looked at it 1,000 different ways, tried to be open to all the different comments that came in. I know there's a lot of division, there's a lot of items on there, but I think this just gives the best summary that I could come up with without spending $20,000 on a survey company to do this. I am not, you know, the professional here. But I do believe that the work that we've done and the work that I've done in the summary is accurate.
Yep.
And I'm prepared to be challenged anyway. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to pull up information, data and that, but I'm really not trying to say anything definitive here unless it is definitive, but I think the part is definitive. But, that's the sentiment.
It's really good. And maybe because you did challenge it and because you were the checker and you monitored it closely, maybe that's why it's so good. Because as we all know, AI can be really not good, but I think it turned out quite well.
I don't think it's anything different than what we get from a feeling by just looking at the raw data. I don't think that there's any major indications to show that we're off base here. We were just trying to put it into words that people would understand. And it was funny because some people would ask me, well, did you see this comment? I said, yes. And I said, well, why aren't you responding to that? I said, because that comment was in there once. But, you know, people would challenge, I swear, you know, I saw that more often in there. We show, and then we'd show that, well, no, it actually was only in there once. Well, but it was something I thought was really important, and I agree with that, it's a good comment, but I didn't summarize all of them. There's a lot of negative comments, you know, people are frustrated with how long this has taken. We've been working on this since, what, 2007 as a community?
Six.
Six, excuse me. We've done the survey, had a great response. And I think it deserves to be paid attention to. I think the data is good.
Do you need something from us before?
No, but I will say that moving forward, what we're going to have to do is if the council is, I mean, depending on how you folks feel, a little bit of direction from the council, not a definitive direction, but what I do need to do is if the city council is going to go with the survey's recommendation and look at the remodel process, I need to do some work to better get down to the nuts and bolts of the pricing and the options for what a remodel and a potential new building for the Public Works Department would look like. To do that, I've already had conversations after the survey came out with our architects and engineers and asked them, what does this look like? They said that before the February 27th deadline to register, and then the rest of the items that we need to get to the county are March 19th. We've got some work to do to pare the project down a little bit to determine exactly what the project is for the remodel, what the pricing may be for that. Because so far what I've got is just approximate pricing and it's high because we wanted to make sure that, so many things have happened already. We had no idea that our, downtown rebuild project would be 33 to 35 million until, we got into the quote that came out, and it was like, holy smokes. So we kept that high. I'm hoping that we might be able to pare that down a little bit, come up with something that the council would realize. I'd like to work on that in the next, or to consider as far as what the remodel looks like for that building. The goal is to make sure that our first responders are safe at this point. This is what we're working with. Community resiliency does not necessarily, other than, day-to-day resiliency, yes, major event, tsunami, earthquake, that resiliency is not really going to improve with a remodel. But our day-to-day resiliency will. And I think that if I can get some direction from the council to begin getting some pricing from our architects to look at the remodel project, I'm hoping it's a lot less expensive than anything we've already done. We've done a lot of work and we can reuse a lot of what we've come up with. We can get to you a lot of good information by the time we need to make the decision to go for the vote. So I'm looking for direction from the council where you'd like me to research which item you might want me to research and move forward on. Or 2 items. I think there's not much support.
Okay, the Highlands, we do not even have a memorandum of understanding.
It's a long way to go on the islands, yes, sir.
Yeah, so I am, as I was before, very reluctant to back anything that we don't even have ownership of. I'd like to see some work moved on the remodeling of the fire station and what that could possibly cost. Now, I don't know what other people are feeling, but that is my sentiment.
So the question is, we don't have a memorandum of understanding, but they've been chatting with you on an ongoing basis, correct?
Correct, so
So what my question is how long of a time period would it take to get that memorandum?
there's a lot of items left in that decision-making process is whether or not that whole thing is going to be a viable offer. Number one, the owners of those properties want to know whether or not the city of Gearhart is going to bring them into the city of Gearhart in the future as part of this process. They would definitely be more open to potentially willing, to donate some land to the city to do that. But we still have the water issue also, that is a big factor in this, and whether or not we're going to be able to provide water for them so we can get through the warranty situation. So because of those 2 situations, we're still working on a pathway to potentially bring that area into the city of Gearhart, but there's a lot of questions. So it would be a long haul. And I'm not sure that we would be able to resolve it to people's satisfaction. That was one of the reasons that previous vote failed from our perspective, because there was so much up in the air. And unfortunately, I can tell you that we don't have much, if anything, more down on that. Got a lot of good ideas, got a lot of good intentions, but I'm not sure it's going to take.
Right, so Mark stated that he thinks it may take you up to 2 years to even get through the water rights process. So
We wouldn't be surprised.
if
that's
he's
what-
correct on that, that potentially means that whole situation up there couldn't be figured out until that 2 years was up and they had gotten the water rights. Is that what you're saying?
I think that's what he's saying. He's pretty skeptical with WRD. We've heard reports that they're severely underfunded, they don't have enough people to help out, and they're very far behind on all the work.
Right, but is that what you're saying, is that we'd have to have that in place, the water rights in place, before we could even go further with it?
Not necessarily. There is another option to where they could come into the city of Gearhart and choose not to be on our water department, our water supply, provide their own water through wells.
But that hurts our application, doesn't it?
Potentially hurts our application.
But they're in the same situation that we are. I mean, unless Steve and Ryan have already applied to the Water Resource Board to drill their own wells.
Through our initial estimations, that process would probably be easier than what Gearhart is trying to do. But that process then potentially injure what Gearhart is trying to do.
They're prepared to go ahead and do that.
They are prepared to go ahead. They're prepared also to potentially go to the county and not go through Gearhart and then develop it in a way that has, it would be less density. They would be able to develop that in the county the way that they want to. So that decision would be between them and the county. That particular area is probably the last direction Gearhart can grow. If the community is interested in a proposal, it's nice for us to be able to say, this is kind of how we would like to plan out Gearhart and its growth. But if we decide not to do that, then we're leaving that up to the county and to the homeowners. And yeah, they would probably put in less home sites down there. But they would still be able to potentially accomplish what they
So,
were trying to do.
okay, so if they go that route through the county, then that means that we don't get any of the property tax income.
That is true.
And they could all be short-term rentals.
That is true.
Yes.
I don't know, I think we need to think about this really carefully, and there's a lot of moving parts to whether we include islands in the situation or not. I mean, I hate to throw it out the door.
Well, I could see in negotiations moving forward that we might want, whether it's parkland or open space or a place to put emergency supplies. God forbid that we would ever need them, but it is the highest ground we have other than up at the water tank up there. So I could see trying to have some sort of storage or other something there, but maybe it's not the right place for the fire station. I mean, I think the city should be trying to get some piece of that land for municipal use in the future.
Yeah, I agree from that perspective. I would like that land to be ours. Because we're watching what's going on in North Seaside. We have no control over what's happening there, but that's all gonna impact our future living conditions here in Gearhart. And so I would like to insulate ourselves a little bit on the north by having that property. So I agree with you on that perspective. My opinion is nothing in this survey came as a surprise to me. And I understand people are upset. They don't like, some folks don't like any of the things that are proposed, and they want a special surprise solution that doesn't cost them any money. But the problem is that we are a bedroom community. We don't have businesses to rely on to help pay for these kinds of things. So yeah, whatever we decide to do is going to come out of our pockets. Now, if we had jumped right in, now after the 2022 vote, people said clearly, we want it built downtown. If we had jumped in and said, well, we're just gonna do a remodel, there would have been some pushback from the people that understand this building is really old. So as much as, again, I'm not surprised at how much that price came in on, because the state has tied our hands, and we already explained to people we would have to, work around and drag out the building time because of the fire department, and then it would affect public works and all of the things that ran up the price of that. None of that was a surprise to me, and I told everybody that from the get-go. And now everybody acts surprised that the price was so high, but we had to go all through. It costs us a lot, but we had to do it. There was no way to prove to folks that wasn't the option that they wanted without doing that. Okay, I am pleasantly surprised to see more people looking up at the Highlands, and I would personally like to see us put just the fire station up at the Highlands, make that and figure out a way to use all of the area that's vacant here. But again, we are running out of time, and all of those things are gonna take us time, and in the meantime, we are asking for our first responders to continue working in conditions that are making it difficult for us to recruit them. And also, we have some other issues within this city that, other budgeting. How long are we gonna be able to work with just 3 police officers? How long are we gonna be able to work with just 1 or 2 paid firefighters? And I'm not saying I want a whole paid fire department, but if we ever want to get them an administrative staff or anything else, we gotta go with the least expensive options, and we have to give somewhere. And so as much as I think a remodel is the worst choice, no, I shouldn't say it's the worst choice. I hated the park also. I thought the park was the worst choice. I think the remodel is the next worst choice. It's the choice that I think the majority of people have clearly said that they would go in that direction. But because I think it is the worst choice and we don't know what it's gonna cost, that is why I, from the get-go, said 2 things. You would have to cap it. I would never put more than $10 million into that. And there are gonna be people that are surprised that $10 million doesn't fix all of our problems. So again, we're gonna have to go back to clear communication so that people aren't surprised and don't blame us when in 10 years we say, hey, there are still some things that need to be done here. The other thing that I would want is, again, full disclosure to the folks. And I would want a bond longer than 10 years because we are gonna need to do something again within the next 20 years. And I don't wanna, there's no way you're gonna get them to approve a second bond. So those are my conditions, but then I want to know, you know, as much as I hate a remodel, I wanna know what are we talking about remodeling? I'm not gonna give you, I don't want it to cost $10 million. I want it to cost far less. If we can get a piece of property that would already suit us for about $1 million, $1.5 million, let's hop on that piece of property and make do for public works and then figure out how we can cut corners everywhere else. The things that I would want to see done are the major OSHA things, the doors. We know we can't affect the walls, which are really what need to be done, but we can't touch the walls, right? Or minimally touch the walls.
Minimally, there's some applications.
But we need to reimagine the way that they work in there and then make changes to that to where we can protect them from the things that are in there. We need to store their equipment in some place that's gonna make their equipment last longer and not expose them to fumes when they go to put the equipment on later. So we need to lock it up. Their break room needs to be separate. They need decontamination rooms. And I'm sorry to say they need a couple of bunk rooms because that's the future of us being able to recruit here, even volunteers. Some of them will want to stay here. You'll get them coming from farther away. You'll be better able to recruit if we have a couple of bunk rooms and some showers.
And
Like the
bathrooms.
locums,
Right, bathrooms.
same as an ER doctor, comes down and does an extra shift.
So if it were up to just Dana giving you direction, I would say go and talk to the architects with that in mind. I want to know that we're ticking off as many of the OSHA things as we can afford to do. I don't want to spend $10 million. If there's a way we can get around that, I would really like to get around that because I think it's stupid to put a lot of money into that building. And again, clear to the folks. This is not a fix, this is a Band-Aid.
Preston, you got anything to say?
Yeah, I have a lot to say.
Are you gonna say it tonight?
Yeah, I'm gonna say it tonight. The Highlands property. The reason that Steve and Ryan wanted to give you guys the property up there was so they could be annexed into the city. So they could increase their number of houses, which benefits the city of Gearhart, okay? That's increasing the tax base is what I'm interested in, right? Without water, there is no annexation. So that's the reason why I was always on the city attorney about getting the water rights. Now, the state of Oregon, you know, they just drag their feet. They got a problem with the highway department. They should have canned every one of those people that work for them and get some people in there that really want to work. The problem is that when you go to work for a government agency, particularly the state, and you get tenure, your productivity just goes right in the toilet.
Okay.
So until we get water, that's the most important thing we could do. All the rest of this is just talk. Steve and Ryan are gonna go and put their own wells in. So talking about having them give us property up there at the Highlands, there's no benefit to it. Financially.
Well, the zoning will be different.
The zoning will be
Yeah.
different.
The zoning gets
It's
changed.
RA zoning. right now.
Well, that's true. But
But
what you got, I mean, what you're asking for is to have them, you know, give the city of Gearhart property to put our storage units or whatever it is up there, okay? And as far as talking about a fire station, unless we annex them in, there will be no discussion. Those are the facts.
That's stated exactly as it's been told to us.
That's exactly right.
Mhm.
So the only thing, just like Dina said, I mean, you know, these guys over here, just like I said last time. You know, sooner or later, these guys are gonna say, hey, you know. We cannot get this city to support us in what it is that the basic needs we have over here at this fire station. Why should I waste my time? And the problem is that Jack Zimmerman and his ilk are the people that are causing the problem. I mean, I would like to know what Jack Zimmerman paid, the percentage of taxes that he paid on where he moved from versus the amount of tax that he pays the city on his piece of property right here. And I want everybody in the city of Gearhart to realize that we run this fire station on less than 18 cents per assessed thousand. That's the message that we ought to be giving the city, the taxpayer of the city.
Okay,
This is a bargain.
all right, so,
That's all I got to say.
okay,
I think.
I feel the majority of us would like you to do a little delving into the remodel costs and finding out some information. This does not negate the Highlands. It just gives you direction to get some money and not money, get some costs of the money it's gonna be to do the remodeling. Just give us something that we can chew on. Because who knows what it's gonna, it could just be the cat's pajamas, and it could just be, oh my God, you gotta be joking me. I mean, realistically, that's what you're dealing with. It could be a sweet deal, and it could be just, so you got it.
Okay, so what I'll do is I'll work with them, we'll get some costs put together. We'll talk about those in the work session. We'll also have this on the agenda. And potentially, we might need some sort of special meeting between the January and the February agenda to take care of any of the other details that we, I'm guessing that we will, to try to come up with some dates for you on that as well.
Well, this council has shown the ability to make special councils. So if we need to, we will.
So,
There's still gonna be a 3-minute.
yeah, and
I
I have something to say.
if you have something to say, go ahead and say.
So I agree 100% with Dana. I think that remodeling the existing fire station is throwing money down the drain, quite honestly. But that's what the majority of people seem to want. So my question to you, Chad, would be, could we remodel it in a way that on down the line, if we end up moving the fire station up to Highlands, for instance, in 5 years or whatever time frame that takes, could we then repurpose the remodel for, our other needs, or other city needs? So if you're gonna talk to the architects, maybe that could be something that you could throw in there as a consideration in what they get back to us on. In other words, it wouldn't be a total waste to put the money into that if we could repurpose it on down the line, if we do end up with the fire station. That's just my thought about it.
Yeah, and just that idea, a couple of other ideas. I'm not prepared to talk about it right now, but I think that'll open up a conversation that we can be open with and notify the public what our decisions are, what our options are. That gives me a good idea. Thank you.
Mr. McDonald, you said you wanted to say something. You got 3 minutes.
Okay. Chad, why were there no names on the survey? What purpose did that serve?
To not put out the names?
Yeah, why did I was glad to put mine.
Yeah, at the beginning, we said that wasn't as important as the information that we needed, and we didn't. We told people, I think, that we weren't going to put the names out.
All right.
And it was an option for people.
I've got 3 minutes, so I'm gonna go as fast as I can.
So I'll get
I gotta
started.
cover a lot of
It
territory.
says 5, stop at 2.
All right, so no names was a decision for what reason? You haven't given me your reason yet.
A lot of people, the last time we had a survey, said we were tracking how they were voting or answering the survey, and they didn't want reprisals or being pointed out that this is the way they were thinking. So we decided consciously not to say it's optional, just like if you're a voter.
I got it.
Okay.
So who sent them out and why were multiple applications sent to a lot of locations? So who controlled the output where I got 3, guy down the street got 4, my wife got 2. So why, who mailed, who's, did you hire somebody to do that?
No, the city of Gearhart, we did.
Well, it's incompetent. How can you say that that data has any validity whatsoever when multiple applications were sent to people all over the city?
We received, how many paper copies? Christie? 47? So most people did it online. There is a way for us to track people, not people.
Well, how do you know that online guy didn't do it 4 times? That's what I'm saying.
IP addressing.
So you checked that before you used the.
Yeah,
the data.
and
I have
Kalina
that
helped us with
data.
that too.
I have data on the IPs. The most, in terms of an IP address, the most was, I believe about 10 times once.
Really?
And then there was one that was done, don't quote me, it's
Yes,
on a posting here.
So that would be like less than 1% of
Right,
the.
then there was one that was done like 5 times.
Right.
And one more.
And so we did a 4.5% market
Yeah.
rarity.
I found it very confusing and as a taxpayer, almost like you were trying to get what you wanted out of the deal. So I bet before I came in with my wife, that they're gonna push for the highlights, because that's what Chad wants. Surprise, surprise. That's what you're gonna push for. It says it all through here. You can see it. You don't like the downtown application. You want the highlights. Let me remind this board that you've already done that. The community right here, community has told you, we don't want it in the highlands. We don't want it in the park. But you put out a survey, like, are we all so stupid that we didn't realize that you're asking us the same question again and again? What's the purpose of that? You've been told the highlands is unacceptable to 70% of the voters. And you're discussing it again? I think it's crazy. I agree with you that it needs to be mandated, but it doesn't need to be mandated up there. That's not gonna work. It's not gonna work because most of the people have already told you they don't want it there.
Thank you, Mr. McDonald.
I think that the majority of the people, okay, we had these meetings over here at the fire station.
Yeah, I was at
Less than 2% of the population showed up,
I was one of them.
okay? And I give you accolades for that. But most of the naysayers and everything else, they never even bothered coming. And the majority of the people that showed up there wanted the fire station in the downtown core area.
Yes.
Okay, that was the consensus. So that's the premise that we went on. And I was on the committee, Dana was on the committee, with the architects and everything like that. I was shocked. I knew that the foundation was gonna be expensive. And when you start talking about critical infrastructure, when you start talking about building, and I've been in the building business almost my entire life, the code book is about this thick. When you get to critical infrastructure, the code book goes like this. And for every single page, there's an increase in cost, all right? And that's some of the things that the general public didn't understand. So when the price came in, even I, as a builder, was shocked.
But maybe what would make some sense is to put together a committee that works the other way. What, for instance, says, did anybody go back to the 70% and say, hey, why did you vote against the Highland site? It wasn't just because it was there. It was $16 million and it was as far away from Little Beach as you could get. But nobody here ever discussed that.
I discussed it many times. I said there were many.
Okay, this is not a discussion forum. This is over. We're done. All right, we're moving to council concerns. Sharon, do you have any?
No, thank you.
No.
I'm really, taking offense at the amount of animosity in this city towards volunteers. I mean, I really object to the fact, you know, reading through these comments and this, you know, in the survey response and everything like that.
There are some rude ones in there.
Well, you know, and I mean, you know, if people think that they've got a better idea or that, you know, that we're not doing our job, step up or shut up. I'm sick and tired of all these naysayers and everything like that. And what I'm gonna start calling carpetbaggers. People that move into the community and just complain.
Okay. I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Give you a motion to adjourn.
Second,
Second.
all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Adjourn. Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Everyone.